Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Happy summer. It's over. It's gone. Welcome back. NHL season's rolling around. I am Jim Biringer alongside Matthew Blittner. Welcome to the Blue Line Bass podcast. We are joined by great guests tonight. It's going to be a jam-packed episode. Matt Loughlin is here from the New Jersey Devils. Matt, thank you so much for coming on, doing this, being our opening episode to the new season.
Well, Jim and Matthew, thank you so much for inviting me. I spent the morning and through the mid-afternoon today as we record this at the MB30 Invitational Golf Outing, which benefits the Devils Youth Foundation. Marty Brodeur, of course, MB30. And there were a lot of former Devils and current Devils there, along with some great supporters from a sponsorship standpoint. Anyway, the point being, that's the unofficial kickoff to the season with the official start just around the corner. So very excited to be here. Very excited for the start of the year.
Matt, I have to, before we get into it, since you were at this golf tournament, this golf outing, last time I saw you was another golf outing with Marty's former teammate, Ken Danato. Please tell me that you had a better day on the course, that you were really feeling the strokes out on the course with Marty because you weren't with Dano.
Well, no, it wasn't the best day at Dano's invitation for that event. At that point, Matthew, my game was such that, and in only this way can I actually understand what some of the best athletes, NHL players, go through. I had no idea what I was doing on the golf course. And that's the Center for Great Expectations, by the way, the outlet that Dano supports through his golf outing. And, I would stand at the tee and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know where the ball would go. I didn't feel comfortable with my grip. I didn't feel comfortable with my stance. It was just a terrible, terrible feeling. But I kept at it, worked on a few things. I'm certainly not going to qualify for the Ryder Cup, but better today than it was back then. So you work at something, you put a little time into it, and hopefully things work out.
That's why I'm a tennis guy.
By the way,
I'm a tennis guy.
Fair enough. But to be honest with you, I don't know if it's the same with tennis, but a bad day on the golf course, and today was a spectacular day, is just awesome. And so I had fun. I was in a group that included Travis Zajac, so that was a lot of fun, and we had a great time. And the score didn't really matter, but I was okay. I was okay.
I'll say this before we jump into the interview. I'll say this just to answer that question. Yes, it's a good day to be out on a tennis court, just hitting the balls with a partner. It's good therapy. It doesn't matter what the scoreline is. Just be out there in the sun, being outside. So yeah, I understand where you're coming from the golf course angle.
Yeah. Gratitude, grateful to be able to do that and be a part of the Devils family and Marty's endeavors. And like I said, it's it's funny thing. It's kind of the start of the season, and the reason I say that is some former Devils that were there, Steven Giunta, Jim McKenzie, Turner Stevenson, who now works for the Devils. They're all involved in the scouting world, and there were other people there too as well. But we were talking about what lies ahead. And again, as we record this, we're just a couple of days away from the Devils heading to the Buffalo Prospects Challenge, which, while it doesn't really impact what will happen this year because it's just prospects and we don't have like our top number. Years ago, Nico Hischier was there, Jack Hughes was there. We don't have that kind of a person there. We have a bunch of players that hopefully one day will be able to play in the NHL. But the point is, all those scouts are going to be in Buffalo, and we were just talking about what lies ahead and things like that. So, yeah, the off season is gone, and we are here.
Well, with the off season being gone and it being the unofficial start of the 2025-2026 campaign, that hopefully is a very long one for the Devils. Hopefully we'll go to the middle to end of June 2026. There's obviously some unresolved threads that Devils fans are wondering about. And Matty, we're gonna throw you a drive right down the middle right now. Let's call it about a 250-yard drive.
what are you hearing on the updates on the injured Devils? Jack and Luke both had shoulder surgery. Jonathan Tovacevic, obviously, knee out, supposed to be out beyond the start of the season, and Jesper Bratt as well, recovering from what we hear. So just what have you heard and how are they doing?
Yeah, overall, things are good. Jack's been cleared to participate once camp opens. We know that Luke has undergone shoulder surgery, but his contract situation, which I'm sure we're going to discuss, is an issue. And whether or not he starts with the team in camp remains to be seen. Johnny Kovacevic, when we broke at the end of last season, we knew that his knee surgery was going to keep him out for a few months at the start of the year, and nothing has changed there. I haven't checked in on an exact timeline, but if I were to say Thanksgiving, I think I would be pretty accurate at this point. So, yeah, there are some injuries that will play a role, always do, when it comes to any athletic endeavor, any team. But overall, I don't think the Devils are in too bad of a shape. Jesper will be fine. So, it was a rough end to the season. We know what happened toward the end of the year and what happened in the playoff series against the Carolina Hurricanes. The Devils were decimated. I saw Brendan Dillon the other day. He's fine. He's been skating with the team. He's good to go. So, I think for the most part, it's behind the Devils, but Kovacevic's absence is something that they'll have to deal with. But fortunately, the Devils have some depth there on the defensive side of things.
So I was listening to the North American Player Tour today because the players are out there in Vegas. But last week they had the European Player Tour, and Captain Nico Hischier was on with SiriusXM, and he spoke about the high expectations for the Devils coming into this season and the high standard of play. What do you expect from this team in year 2 under Sheldon Keefe?
Well, certainly they're a playoff team. They were a playoff team last year. They'll be a playoff team this year, barring some falling off the end of the earth scenario that hopefully we don't see. How far they get is the challenge, of course. It's one thing to get in. They lost last year to Carolina. If a similar scenario were to unfold this year, I don't think there's anyone on the Devils in management or among the fan base who would be happy if they only got in and lost in the first round. So there is some pressure. Nico, it's interesting. He's been in the league for a while now. He's not that, wet behind the ears kid anymore. Neither is Jack Hughes. Neither is Jesper Bratt. They are coming into their prime, and that will last 5, 6, 7 more years. But this is the moment when it's time to put up or shut up. And I don't think it's a stretch to say that not getting to the Eastern Conference final would be considered a failure. Look, personally, I think getting in is a done deal. They're going to get it. Again, they were a playoff team last year. They've got a lot of returning players. They've changed the bottom of the lineup. Hopefully, it will show improvement in terms of some offense. I like their goaltending. I like the defense. Luke's situation, Johnny's situation hurts that depth a little bit, but I think they'll be okay. My point is, what are they going to do beyond that? Again, Nico's only gone to the second round once. Jack's only gone to the second round once. Jesper's only gone to the second round once. What do you want to be? And I think that's what Sheldon Keefe will say to the fellas when he convenes with the team in another, again, as we record this, a little over a week. Like, who do we want to be? We've got talent. Are we content just to be an okay team? Is it fun just to put the pucks out on the ice and skate and say, hey, look at us. We won, 42 games, whatever, 43 games. We're in the playoffs. Hey, and we lost. Oh, great. Aren't we good? We're the team of the future. We're a team on the come. Well, if you don't prove that, if you don't do something to live up to who you are from a roster standpoint and a talent standpoint, then it's a lost opportunity. So, I don't want to say it's this inordinately critical time from a franchise standpoint, but I certainly think it is for players like Nico and Jack and Jesper Bratt. Who are you? what do you want to be? How do you want to be remembered? So I think there's some pressure on them. I think they can answer it, but that's why I say Eastern Conference final or bust, so to speak, for this team. If they don't get through 2 rounds into the 3rd round, then, I think it's like, okay, been there, done that. But what are we going to do to get beyond that?
Very well said, Matt. And, anytime that a team makes the playoffs, you obviously want to take steps forward, or in this case, 2 steps forward if you just go by. 2nd round would be 1 step forward and 3rd round would be 2. But throughout last season, Sheldon Keefe, in his first year as the Devils head coach, obviously coming off very successful tenure with Toronto from a wins-loss standpoint, there were a lot of times where he made it seem, whether intentionally or not, that the team was still trying to find itself, that he was still trying to find his way with the team. And at the end of the season, he alluded to, it's not just the players who need to be better, but the coaches need to improve as well. So what can fans realistically expect from Sheldon and his coaching staff, which has had some changes for them this season, in order to help the team make it to that, Eastern Conference final or bust mandate?
Yeah, and I don't want to say it, and Matthew, you're right, but I don't want to say that just because he's back for his 2nd year and everyone, for the most part, knows what to expect from him and he knows what he has, that suddenly is going to be the elixir that leads them to a higher result, a better result when it comes to the playoffs. But I think there is something to be said for everyone understands the landscape. Right. It was new for the players. It was new for Sheldon. How do players respond? So on and so forth. The Devils did make a change, obviously, in personnel, both on the ice and in terms of the coaching staff. So we'll see how that all works out. I'm very excited about what Brad Shaw may bring to the team. He's done well wherever he's been, and he's highly regarded. As good as the Devils' penalty kill was, his success in other places hopefully elevates the penalty killing unit. But I think that, Sheldon spent a good part of last year. And the irony is he only got to the 2nd round in Toronto once. But I think he spent a lot of time last year, and you guys were around the club, this isn't good enough. Yeah, the players would win and or the team would win. And he would say, this wasn't. This more is needed here. This wasn't sufficient enough. And there were times listening to his words, I said, wow, can't you just accept the success and we'll move on from there? But I think the deeper message was, again, going back to what I said earlier, who do you guys want to be? Just want to win? This league, it's not easy to win, but if you got some talent, it's an easy league. And the Devils can just, I don't want to say waltz, but kind of waltz through the regular season, get to the playoffs. All right. So great. Half the teams do. Do you want to be better than that? Do you want to leave a mark, a legacy? Do you want to be a player who's fondly recalled as a part of a team that, maybe wins a championship at some point, but at least is in that conversation? Or you just want to be okay? So I think that, he got to know these players. He got to know what buttons he could push. He got to know personalities in locker room. I think they got to know him, which leads me to say that I think the 2nd year under Keefe does have the potential to be a lot better. I think his message was all along, and I think you mentioned it earlier, Nico, talking to the media during the tour, like, again, what do you want to be? And so it's time to go. It's time for the Devils to step up and make their mark.
And you mentioned it, right? Because when you were talking about what do you want to be now, it just reminded me of those late 90 teams when the young guys would come up like the Eliashes and the Sikoras, and they came into the lineup and they're like, okay, what do we want to be? And Patrick had his moment in 2000 and they found that consistency. And it seemed like and we were all around it. And it seemed like that was the frustrating part. First half of the year, heading into the break, they were this consistent team that could play with anybody.
Among the best in the league.
Best in the league, beat Florida, but the wheels fell off second half, the injuries. How do they take the mental side of that game and they don't let little things like that affect them on the ice? Because it just seems like any little thing that they just go sideways.
Yeah, I think that their lack of offense in, let's call it the second half of the season from New Year's Day on, was an issue. They were among the best in the league through New Year's Day. I mean, leading up to the Christmas break, beating the Rangers, shutting them out, beating Pittsburgh. They were a team that was to be reckoned with. And then suddenly they meandered. That's the term I use. They meandered in the second half. They'd win two, they'd lose one, they'd win one, they'd lose two, they'd win two, they'd lose two. Like it just, they never got going. And in the end, not that there was, in my mind, ever a danger of them not making the playoffs. There was a time, though, where you're like, hey, you got to get going because it's not secured. I thought they would make the playoffs, and they did. So, again, I think that's all part of the learning process of this team. I think the additions on the bottom half of the lineup should help. I think, with all due respect, this group that has been put together, and I'm talking about Connor Brown and Evgeny Dadonov and Arseny Gritsuk, should provide more than guy I really like, Nate Bastian, than a Curtis Lazar, than a Daniel Sprong. Those guys just didn't score, didn't perform. Justin Dowling was terrific, but he couldn't score. So I think that the addition should help, and that will make things easier. Chico Resch, my broadcast partner in the radio booth, always says the magic number is 3. You get to 3 goals, you have a really good chance of winning. You don't get to 3 goals, you have a really good chance of losing. And the Devils, unfortunately, fell short of those 3 goals to a large extent in the second half of the season. So I think the offense should be a little better. There are still some questions to be answered. But going back to what you said, Jim, and we can continue this part of the conversation, but going back to what you said about the Patrick Eliashes and that time in the 90s. 94, they go to the Eastern Conference Final. They win in 95. Don't make the playoffs in 96. Don't really go very far in 97, 98. Don't go really far in 99. So what was that Devils team? Peopled by Hall of Famers, peopled by Marty Brodeur and Scott Stevens and Scott Niedermayer and Kenny Dandigo. Who were they? Guys who were coming up, the Jay Pandolfos, the John Maddens, who had some success on a different level. But it's not showing in the playoffs. Then suddenly 2000 comes, 2001, 2003, and the team goes down in history as a club that won 3 championships from 95 to 2003 and went to finals, and all is good. But it was that close. Cost Robbie Ftorek his job. If Larry Robinson doesn't kick over the garbage can and they don't respond in Philadelphia, it might just be another team of good players who couldn't get over the top and get to the apex, couldn't climb the mountain. So, people forget that. I forget that sometimes. That team was kind of come see, come saw as to where they were. Eventually, all that talent coalesced and they won. And to some extent, that's the same thing that's happening here. So, let's see what happens. Who do you want to be? Prove to me that you're among the best in the NHL.
Well, not only do they want to prove that they're among the best, but they're going to need their best players to be that. And that starts, obviously, with health, but it also starts with, and I can't believe we're only just now, 18 minutes into our conversation getting into this, Luke Hughes. I mean, there's a lot of rumors out there. I don't want to give credence to this rumor or that rumor because they're just rumors. Until pen comes to paper or Tom Fitzgerald holds a press conference announcing the D-Day nuclear option, there's nothing set in stone in either direction. But what are you hearing in regards to it? Because we have to assume Luke wants to be with the Devils. He has never said anything contrary to that. So we have to assume he wants to be in New Jersey. I mean, he's got his brother Jack there. What are you hearing on the latest for his contract right now?
Yeah, it's all rumors and innuendo. Neither Tom Fitzgerald, other than what he said a few months ago, that it's a priority to sign Luke, nor Luke Hughes and his side, his agent, Pat Brisson, etc., have said anything. Now, it's been reported that that there's a 5-year deal that they're talking about. I don't believe that's come from the Devils, which leads me to believe it's come from the Hughes side of things. It's a bit complicated. The Devils are up against the cap. We know the cap's going up. We know that there are moves that can be made, but until they're made, you can't give Luke $10 million a year. I'm not suggesting that's what he's asked for. So I think in a vacuum of information, a lot of panic sets in. Listen, he could not sign with the Devils. There's no question about that, but that means he's not going to play this year. So from that standpoint, the Devils hold the cards. On the other hand, he's going to want to sign a deal that not only benefits him financially, but we'd be foolish to think that his side, I don't say that negatively, but that his side doesn't want to kind of hitch the wagon to Jack. Who knows what's going to happen about Quinn? This is a unique situation. 3 highly talented players. And you want the most you can get out of a contract. So again, as we record this, Devils are still about 9 days away from the veterans reporting. The first game is another 13 days or so away against the Rangers. When I say first game, first preseason game. Do I think Luke might not make it to the start of camp? Yeah. I think there is a logjam in terms of cap space and also a logjam in terms of what he wants, what the Devils want, what works in the long term. So I think that, I think that there is some problem, quote unquote, that needs to be ironed out. But, I was talking to Travis Zajac today. I played with him at the MB30 Invitational. Scotty Niedermayer held out. John McClain held out. Claude Lemieux held out. It happens. And there are players, certainly of a more modern ilk than those 3. It does happen. It doesn't mean that it doesn't work out in the end. It's a business as much as we don't want it to be. And Devils fans, and I'm one of them, want the best team out there on opening night. For sure.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. You got to have the best team out there on the ice for sure. And look, that brings me to my next point on this. When you talk about Luke Hughes, do you look at the situations that happened last year with Boston, with Jeremy Swayman? We know Connor Zary just signed in Calgary. There's been situations in Anaheim with Trevor Zegras and Jamie Drysdale before they were shipped to Philadelphia. Is it deadlines make deals, but how important is it to get him in camp? Because if he misses time, he's already behind the 8 ball.
To a degree, he is. Yeah, and it depends on how long, Jim, that he stays out. A few days probably doesn't matter. Another week or so beyond that probably does start to impact a little bit. I think it's better to be in camp than not, of course. I think that, Jesper Bratt recently didn't come to terms on a deal and so it happens. I think as long as it's short term, it's okay. I really do. I think it's just part of the process. I think it's just part of NHL business. And I think that there'll be no impact, if it doesn't go all that long. And I honestly don't think that it will. I think he likes to play. I think he has something to prove too. Let's be honest. It's not like he was an all-star last year. And I say this with a ton of respect for him, for what his potential is. There's no question he's a gifted player, and we've seen some unbelievable moments for him. But, last year wasn't the best. So where is he in all this in terms of what he needs to prove? So I don't think a holdout of a short duration is all that problematic. I think the longer it goes, there starts to become a little bit of a problem. But for now, let's see how it goes. My heart says it won't be very long that he'll be sidelined. I'm not sure he'll make it to media day and the first day on ice, but I don't think it'll be long term.
Well, Matt, your heart, like your gut, is generally pretty accurate, so that can be something that Devils fans can hold on to, especially for those who are all over social media, clutching their pearls a little bit. Not too dissimilar from how Edmonton Oilers fans are clutching their pearls over Connor McDavid, of course. But
and it's a different world, Matthew. Not to interrupt, and I apologize for doing so. But it is a different world. Even I mentioned Scott Niedermayer earlier. When he was with the Devils till the very end of his career, the rules were different. You couldn't be a free agent till 31. The team held all the cards. We just have to accept that the power has gone more to the player side, and it's a matter of the teams dealing with it and finding a way to make all the pieces fit. It doesn't mean that just because you're out for yourself, and we all are to some extent, that the team can't succeed. Yes, the all for one for all thought, like, the Islander team that won 4 straight cups. Oh, we were all together and we were in, and Bill Torrey and Al Arbor were the guys who kept us together. They couldn't go anywhere. Billy Smith couldn't leave. Bobby Nystrom couldn't leave. If Bill Torrey had to sign those guys, and he was limited by how much he could sign the team to, I don't know if they win 4 Stanley Cups. And that's sad, but that's the reality. Butchie Goring may have said, hey, I came from L.A. and I'm pretty good, and I was instrumental in that first cup. Let me get the heck out of here. And Butchie, when I see you at an Islanders game, you can tell me if I'm wrong. But it's
23rd, mark the calendars.
Exactly. It's 2025. It's a different world. As a fan, I wish it was like it was back in the day when players like Dano and Stevens and Marty stayed for the longest time and played most of their career, Dano in the entirety of his career, with the New Jersey Devils. That doesn't happen. Brad Marchand won a Stanley Cup with Florida last year. Is he a Boston Bruin? Sure. But did he win a cup with Florida? No doubt.
Yeah. Well, look, anything can happen, as you just pointed out. And I don't think anyone ever had on their bingo card Brad Marchand winning the Stanley Cup with Florida. In fact, I still think that some people need to pinch themselves, because I don't think that people still really believe that actually happened. But, Matt, before we let you go here, as I was alluding to, your gut is generally right, your heart's generally right. So tell us, where are the Devils finishing in the standings this year? I know you've already said, that they should be a playoff team, but there's 5 different spots that they can take to get into the playoffs. Yeah. Number 1 in the Metro, number 2, number 3, first wild card, second wild card. Give it to us straight. Where are they landing?
So I'll get to it, but let me just say this. The Metropolitan Division, who knows? I mean, I thought last year Washington was not going to be all that good. They were fueled by Ovi's run to the goal-scoring record, and they did a great job finishing first. So, I don't know. I don't know that the Rangers are constructed well. Mike Sullivan will have an impact for sure. Just because Lou Lamoriello, who I have a lot of room for in my heart and a lot of time for, very instrumental in my career, is no longer in charge of the Islanders, doesn't suddenly mean because players will be able to wear beards that they're going to be that good. Carolina, I think, has taken a step back. I'm not sure what Washington will be. So all that being said, I think the Devils have a great opportunity, quite frankly, to finish first in the division. They were somewhat on that pace through the first half of last year, through the Christmas season. So there's no reason for me to think that they can't do that and go beyond that and sustain that throughout the course of the season. So I think, honestly, first place in the division is possible. I think that once you get to the postseason, anything can happen, of course. As I said earlier, every team wants to win a championship. It would be nice to add the 4th Stanley Cup to the Devils' history. But I would think that getting to the Eastern Conference Final is certainly a goal that's attainable. without a doubt, to me, winning a first round playoff is a necessity. So I'm kind of backtracking and running through all the scenarios. I think they're going to be a very good team. I think they're at least into the second round, and I think there very much is a possibility that they get to the Eastern Conference Final. Who they play, could it be Florida again, two-time defending Stanley Cup champ? It's not going to be easy. Whoever comes out of the Atlantic Division, and I assume that's who they will see. But I think there's a reason to be happy and optimistic about what the Devils may be able to do. Some injuries early, we talked about them, the contract situation, but I think their goaltending situation, their defensive depth, and their ability to score goals is pretty good. And overall, I think it's going to be a very, very good year that fans will fondly recall and be excited about.
Well, Matt, thank you so much for joining us here on the Blue Line Blast podcast. It's been a pleasure to talk hockey with you as we get ready for the 2025-2026 season. Just a great honor to have you on here.
Well, Jim and Matthew, thank you so very much for inviting me. Talking about hockey, talking about Devils hockey in particular, is always something I love to do. The season is upon us, another year. And the best part about it is you don't know, right? I think it's going to be a successful year, but there's nothing guaranteed. You have to play it. What a great start to the season. Carolina, Tampa Bay, and then the Columbus team. I didn't mention them in the division, but we'll see what they're all about before they come home to play Florida. So it's a great start. The Olympics are here. Gosh, there's so much excitement. I'm just happy that it's about to begin.
Yes, absolutely. Guys, this has been the Blue Line Blast podcast. Jim Biringer, Matthew Blittner, alongside Devils radio play-by-play, Matt Loughlin. Guys, take care. We'll be back again real soon. Enjoy.